All right, guys, welcome back to the garage and the 1959 Triumph TR3A Restoration Project. And as you can probably tell if you watched the last video, we've gone a little bit backwards. It was nice having the car kind of together and in one piece, but obviously we've gone a little backwards here in order to do some work on the front end of the car that needs to be done. So it's not the first time that the panels will go on and off the car. This happens multiple times during the restoration. It's probably one of the more frustrating parts of the restoration, or the most patience testing, let's say, when you put panels on and take them off. I don't know, I couldn't even count the number of times that these panels will be on and off the car. Anyway, we're going to work on the front end today and make some repairs up there, much needed repairs. And we're going to transition this car from being a 1957 body tub into a 1959 tub by doing a few modifications at the front. Anyway, let's talk about what needs to be done in this video. All right, we're up here having a look at the front fender area, and I have mentioned this in one of my previous videos that this body tub is actually from the 1957, which is slightly different than the body tub from a 1959. And up here in the front, it's all relative to the actual bonnet or the front valance that was on this car from the factory. So in 1957, this car would have had a small mouth front apron or valance. 1959, it went to the large mouth. So there's different provisions up here on the fenders for clearances of the marker lights and the headlights, actually. So long story short, these holes now need to be filled in for the 59, as there's a pickup point actually here that runs right into the sort of the center area of this cutout. There's a pickup point here now for the front valance attachment, so we need to fill these holes in. We will need to make some provisions later on for the 59 running lights. There's usually like a little dimple or divot in the fender here. And also on the 59, it is not flat here like the 57 was. There's actually some sort of dimples in here to clearance the headlight buckets, but we'll worry about that at a later date. I've got some thoughts about that already, and I've been doing some research on that. So I'm not going to worry about that area at the moment. We are going to fill these in. So that's the number one repair that we're going to do here today. Let's talk about the second repair we're going to do here in just a second. All right, the second repair pertains to this area that we have outlined here in blue on either side. So this is a very common area of rust on side screen cars. I've repaired it on my 1960. I've done another, or I've seen another car with the exact same rust issues in this area. So it's very common to see this, and I think it's attributed to the location of the inner fenders in proximity to the radiator. Apparently it picks up a lot of moisture in this area. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but like I said, it's a common area for rust. So it's going to be kind of a two-part repair because there is some structure on the inside that I'll show you now. So on the inside of the fender is actually the front body mount, and you can see it attached to the chassis down in this area down here. So generally what happens is it's like a double thickness of metal. So I have repaired it previously by cutting out the entire fender along with the mounting bracket, but I might think about doing that a little bit differently here today. These brackets seem to be in better shape than the ones I dealt with previously, which were completely rusted out and required actually new brackets to be manufactured. So these brackets actually look fairly solid. Look like the outside metal here is what's really rusted. I don't think the brackets themselves are rusted. So I think what we'll try to do is we'll clean these up on the inside and see if we can see where they're actually spot welded. We may try to drill out the spot welds and remove the brackets before we go ahead and cut out the metal, and then make the replacement of the metal here, and then reattach or replug weld the actual brackets to the new metal that we put on the inner fender. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's the plan for today. I may change along the way. I may decide just to go ahead and cut this out entirely like I did on my previous restoration, and then just sort of detach the bracket from the metal on the bench versus trying to wrestle it off here on the car. Anyway, let me think about it a little bit more, and I'll come back once we decide what we're going to do. While we ponder what we're going to do with the body mount and the bottom of the inner fender, I think we'll go ahead and we'll replace these round cutouts with some fresh metal, just while we still have some structure there. Let's do that first. I have taken a look at what I can use for a sort of a template for that circle, and I'm going to use my bearing and seal driver set. And we've got this this one here, which is 2.830 inches. And it seems to be a pretty good template as far as for me to cut out a piece of metal or two pieces of metal to stick in there and weld in there. So we'll straighten that area of metal out, grind it down, and we'll get ready to weld new metal in there before we move on to that other repair. A little throwback here for those of you who watched my channel for a little while. So you remember on my TR250 restoration project, we were doing a ghost stripe for the nose bonnet stripe. And I did a bunch of practice painting panels with various types of pearls, and just going through my scrap metal bin looking for some metal to repair the TR3, came across these panels. So I thought that was kind of funny to have a look back at these. So anyway, they are going to be ground down or ground clean. So that's the last you'll see of the practice painting panels for the 68 Triumph TR250 Ghost Stripe. You see the real thing on the car anyway. All right, we've got our round plug all ready to be welded in. So I've done a test fit, it fits well with a little bit of a gap. So we'll go ahead and we'll weld that in on the driver's side, then we'll grind the other one down to fit on the passenger side and do the same thing. All right, quick update for you. So those holes have been closed up on both sides and ground down. Just need a little skim of filler on there. So I think what we'll try to do now is we'll try to attack this wheel well area. And we'll start first here on the inside as mentioned. Bring this light over. So I think what we'll do is we'll clean up on the inside of this mount here and see if we can find some spot weld locations. I think I can even see a little bit through. This is like an undercoating or like a Raptor liner or a bed liner material. So I think we'll try to get rid of that and see if I can find some spot weld locations. So the only difficulty I can see about getting this mount off without cutting it completely out of the inner fender is it's got a little bit of a wraparound on the bottom of the inner fender, and it might be a little difficult to detach this from the bottom, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So let's see if we can expose some spot welds first, and then we'll go from there and create a plan of action. All right, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but they were pretty random with their spot welds. I remember that when I did the 60, how random the spot welds were. And you can see, you can probably see one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. A couple down here, out of line. One down here, one here, one here, a couple here. So a couple down there. So anyway, at least I can see them. I think I can see most of them. And we'll get a drill now and drill these spot welds out and see if we can detach that panel effectively. It's actually a little bit loose here at the rear, which is good. I can get a little bit of a chisel in there, a cold chisel in there to split those welds if need be. So anyway, let's break the drill out and drill some spot welds and see how we do. All right, I've given up my attempt to get this off from the inside of the car. It's just, I can't get an angle to get a swing of a hammer in there. I do have some specialized tools, for example, you know, to to break panels that are on an angle that are hammerable, but when I get to this point, for example, I can't get a hammer on there to give that a good downward blow. So maybe if the body tub was off the car, I could probably do it if the suspension wasn't in the way, to maybe start breaking it this way, but that's not the case. So I think what we're gonna do, or what I'm gonna do, not think, I've drilled some pilot holes across the top here, 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can see the top edge of this plate from the other side. I've also drilled some pilots down here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to cut this panel out just above where this mount is. I have released it a little bit back here. Probably just see where I've started. I'm hoping not to cut this edge, but if I do, I can always fix it anyway. But I prefer to leave that edge there if possible. So I'm trying to stop at this line here, which is my last line, my last pilot. I should be able to see that on the way down and keep from cutting into that, that bracket or that channel that's around the suspension. Anyway, let's see what we can do. I'm not sure whether I want to release this first or whether I want to cut it with it still attached to the body mount. This fender is probably going to spring up a little bit, although it is bolted here. So anyway, I'll have to think about that. All right, we'll come back once this is cut. Well, not that I wanted to do it, but I've been thinking about doing it. So I think the time has come now to actually go ahead and remove the radiator. Fortunately, it's empty. So I've got a couple of bolts to undo the radiator shield, and then I can undo the bolts from underneath the radiator that are holding it in. So there are just a couple bolts here on each side, 1, 2, that are actually undone from underneath. So we'll remove the radiator protection shield to be able to get to those. And then we'll remove the radiator to give us a bit more space to be able to get back into this area here, down in here, and down in here. It's a little bit more challenging on this side with that steering box being there. All right, the radiator is out. That took a little longer than I anticipated. Those bottom bolts are a little bit difficult to get to. They're not in a great place. Anyway, we've got a bit more room now to maneuver in here. Still a little concern here on the driver's side with that steering box. I'm thinking about taking that out since we have a steering conversion to do on this car at some point anyway. But I really don't want to have to go that far at the moment to be able to get this side out. So if I don't have to take it out, I don't want to take it out, but we'll do what we need to do. Anyway, let's work on this side first and see if we can get some success over here before we move over to here. All right, guys, we successfully managed to get that out of there. It's not too bad. I did manage to rescue that, that rear kind of vertical piece where I wanted to, so that's good. I did make a little bit of a cut, but I can weld that back up. So that's what that looks like, pretty ugly at the moment. And here is that piece removed. So now we'll be able to split it a little bit easier here on the bench because we need to keep this mount. I do actually have one mount here spare. Where is it? Over here from my last restoration. Can't remember what side it is. Looks like it's this side. So technically I don't really need it, but I'm going to try to rescue it anyway. It's always good to have a spare of these because I don't believe they're available anymore. It's kind of interesting how it's got that cut out there where this one doesn't. So who knows, maybe this one was fabricated by the previous owner. Anyway, we're gonna split this. Oh, there's those, a couple more spot welds here on the bottom where that metal is folded over, as I'd mentioned, that I knew was gonna be difficult to get off. So I'll drill these spot welds out and then we'll remove this outer piece of metal from the mount. Easier said than done. Well, we're just taking our time. It's slow going, but it is coming off. I can't imagine actually trying to remove this on the car as originally anticipated. It's on there. It's spot welded pretty well from the factory actually, or whoever spot welded this last actually did a good job of spot welding. It's pretty difficult to split these seams. Anyway, we're making our way through it as carefully as we can. The old me probably would have been a lot more destructive when I was doing my first restoration. I think I just probably would have got the air chisel out and hammered this away, but we're being a little bit more cautious in our old age and taking more time and being more patient. So anyway, we'll get it off eventually, but it's coming. Well, I thought I'd bring you back so you can experience the joy with me on the last couple of, or maybe one hammer stroke left to get this piece off. So we can all celebrate victory. Well, let's hope it comes off now. fall. There's literally like one little rivet holding on. Hey! Success. Doesn't that make you feel good? Makes me feel good. At least I can go inside and take a break now. Oh, I lied about going inside. So there's where it is cleaned up a little bit. So still a little rusty, surface rust wise. It's still solid though. So I've got a bin of evaporust here. In it goes. See what it looks like overnight. I got time. All right, guys, welcome back. It's the next day, and we're continuing on with this repair of this front inner fender body mount location. I think we left off with cleaning up that bracket, and we've just let it soak here in evaporust overnight. So we'll have a look at that shortly. Let it soak for a little while longer. Just got it in front of the heat here. I think it acts a little differently if it's a little warmer, that solution, versus it being pretty cold. And it was pretty cold in the garage overnight. So let's see what that looks like once we get this panel welded back in. So it is cut up and fit up. So all I did is put the panel up in the front and scribe it from the back. So it is a little bit of a difficult sort of fit up because of just a slight little bit of curvature here. I'm not sure whether it's actually supposed to be there or not, but there is a little bit of a curvature here in the front. But you can sort of see the line here that kind of runs down, probably the body line that was once there. But looks like there's been a lot of hammering and a lot of work here. I don't know if that's just accident damage or some previous panel work, but it is pretty lumpy there. So anyway, we'll do our best to make this look better. It's going to require a little bit of filler work afterwards, I'm sure, but it'll be better than that rusty piece of metal that we took out of there. So here we go. All right, guys, we've got that welded in and ground down. It's looking pretty good, I think. It's got a little crack there to fix on the bottom, but we can do that in a second once we get the mount installed. Don't know how well I'll be able to see this from the back side. There it is from the back side, so that's looking good. All right, so next thing to do is to take a look at that mount that we've had soaking. I don't expect it to be perfect, but I expect it to be better. Anyway, let me get a towel here and lay it out on the table here, and we'll bring it out and see what it looks like. All right, here's where that mount looks like after soaking overnight in evaporust. Looks much better. So I think what we'll do is we'll just give this another quick grind. There's a little bits of still some remnants of some spot welds here. So we're gonna grind those flat, and then we'll look to trowel fit it to the car. We're gonna leave the holes there because we're gonna use these to plug weld this back onto that panel. So we don't need to fill these. We do have an idea for this bottom wraparound piece. I think we're just going to do I'll show you what we're gonna do, but rather than explain it, I'll show you what we're gonna do in the end to fix that little wraparound piece. It's not gonna be factory, but it's gonna be probably stronger than what it was before. All right, we'll come back. Okay, we've applied some weld-through primer to this panel on the inside of the wheel well, and we've done some same on the back of the panel itself and on the bottom. So we're going to fit it up, clamp it in, and see where it needs to be before we go ahead and do some plug welding. Okay, we've got that mount position where it needs to be, and we're just about to tack it in place there. And I've realized that I screwed up a little bit, and I like to share my screw-ups on this channel as much as I like to share my successes. But yeah, I screwed up when I made this patch. I didn't get the right shape on it, so you can see I'm missing a little wedge shape here at the bottom. So I don't know why I didn't catch that, but anyway, I can make a little piece to fit in there. That's no big deal, but I thought I'd just mention that to you. So got be a little bit more careful when I do my patch to make it look like that and be more square, along the bottom. Should follow the bottom of this angle and up, very much similar to this side. So I don't know what I was thinking there, but we'll fix it. No big deal. All right, guys, almost finished. I got to grind down that weld where I put that patch in the bottom. I actually found a couple of pinholes and I actually opened them up a little bit bigger with the wrong setting on my welder. So we got to go back and patch those now because I had the welder turned up high to do the plug welds, and then I came back to do a little bit of a pinhole and blew right through. So that's my fault. Anyway, that's done. And just a quick note, I did leave enough material on the bottom of that patch to wrap it under and attach to the bottom of that bracket on the inside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get under the car and weld that from the bottom up to seal that bottom patch into the body mount, and then we'll do some grinding and we'll call this side done and move on to the other side. Surprising amount of work to get this put back together. All right, anyway, almost done. Little grinding, little welding. All right, we've got the passenger side all ground down and looking good on both the outside and on the inside. All the plug welds have been ground down, so that's looking good. So I think we're ready to now go. Well, there's one more little repair to do here, this little crack here. We'll repair that when we repair this other side. Gonna have that same crack here to deal with on this side. Anyway, thought I'd give you a quick look of what this side looks like before we start cutting it apart like we did the other side. I'm not going to video this side since we've already pretty much done the same process, or it'll be the same process as this side. Unless I run into some challenges, I'll let you know. I'll take some video, but other than that, we'll just go to town here. So first thing to do is obviously cut that piece out. And it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, as mentioned, because of the steering box here. If I need to remove that, I can, but I really don't want to. So anyway, we'll see what we can do to get this out, and we'll come back with updates along the way. All right, guys, just coming up to 8 p.m. and time for dinner, so I'm going in, and that'll be it for tonight. So here we are on the driver's side, and as you can see, I've got that bracket cut out. I was able to use a little body saw to cut the bottom where I couldn't reach with the angle grinder, so that worked out okay. So then we went ahead and we stripped all the backing off of the mount, and here's what we're left with. So again, still a good solid piece with some pitting and surface rust, but again, we're going to soak that in the Evaporust overnight. So it's quite a pile of rust in behind those brackets, so if you ever had the want to just cover it with body filler and be done with it, it's probably not necessarily a good idea. This is what you're looking at behind, that metal. It's all pretty rusty, crusty stuff. So probably wouldn't take too long to rust back through. So it'd be a short-term repair, that's for sure, if you just decided to fiberglass those. Anyway, that's it for tonight. We'll get that soaking, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll get this side looking like that side. Have a good night. All right, guys, welcome back. It's Saturday, so we've got the day to spend out here in the garage. I've been out earlier this morning and cleaned up that mounting bracket a little bit better and put a coat of zinc primer on it. We've also made our patch panel for this area here. So we're just about ready to get welding that in. I did take into account that little bottom piece that I forgot about yesterday, and we've gone ahead and pre-bent the flange. Hopefully that's in the right location. We'll find out shortly. I think it is. Anyway, so we're learning from our job on the passenger side. We're making the driver's side hopefully a little bit better. Anyway, let's get to welding this in and grinding it down, and then we'll come back. I'm sure this is probably going to take a few hours to do, but it takes what it takes. All right, quick update for you, 6 p.m. and I believe we are done the welding and all the grinding up the front here. So it looks pretty good. It's nice and solid. I think the passenger side turned out a little bit better than the driver's side. The driver's side had a lot of hammer and dolly work. I don't know if this tub had been in an accident previously, but you can see all the hammer marks in the front here. It made it a little bit more difficult to get things aligned up here with the metal being so stretched. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Like I said, everything is ground down on the inside. It's nice and solid, much more solid than it was, obviously. So that's what we're going for. So that should be good for another 30, 40 years. Who knows? Anyway, it'll be good for as long as I own the car, that's for sure. All right, so we're going to call that project done, and we'll move on to another area. Maybe we'll move back here a little bit and maybe fix up this area. There's probably need a little patch going in here. There's a couple of cage nuts missing here. We'll probably weld those on. Anyways, lots of small welding jobs to be done on this car. I think that was the most major one that needed to be done. So that is good. Anyway, I think, like I said, we'll try to get out here tomorrow and do a little bit of work on the car. I do have another little project in the garage for tomorrow. I did end up buying a small snowblower. And of course, when I buy things, they are not running. So we'll see if we can get that fixed up and running, because we're going to need that for the winter. I suspect the snow is not too far behind. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing. We shall see you on the next video.